This is a man, Donald Trump, who's done more for everyone than anyone.
Nobody has done more for the black community than Donald Trump.
We did more for the Hispanic community than any administration.
Nobody ever did more for Americans who love Cuba.
I did more for Michigan auto workers and men.
No moment in modern American politics has ever transformed a national celebration into such a complete, public, and immediate embarrassment. Nothing even comes close. Donald Trump set out to stage what he described as the biggest 4th of July celebration in the nation's 250-year history. Instead, the entire spectacle unraveled in full view, so dramatically and so quickly that by the time Jimmy Kimmel took his seat behind the desk, the punchlines had practically written themselves. His only task was to say them out loud, and that's exactly what he did. Kimmel opened with the polling numbers because that's where the entire story really began. Trump had reached a place that people who judge their success by crowd size and approval ratings find almost impossible to accept.
Now down to 34%. He has the same approval rating as Paul Blart Mall Cop. The Blart of the deal. Not only is Trump at his lowest point, he's also 2 points behind J.D. Vance.
His approval had dropped to just 34%, the lowest point of his presidency. Kimmel delivered the number with the calm confidence of someone reading a medical report, pointing out that the President of the United States, the self-proclaimed greatest leader in American history, was polling at about the same level as Paul Blart, the fictional mall security guard from the 2009 comedy. The audience burst into laughter. Then Kimmel shared a detail that needed no punchline, because the fact alone was funny enough. Trump was trailing his own vice president, J.D. Vance, by 2 points. The very man Trump had chosen, the same man who had spent years displaying unwavering loyalty until he seemed more like a political puppet than an independent figure, had become more popular than the person pulling the strings. Kimmel admitted he didn't even have a joke for that. He simply wanted to make sure Trump heard it.
Nobody in history did more for the farmers of our country than I did.
Nobody's done more for the Jewish people than I have.
We've done more for young parents than any administration.
We've done more for the senior than any other person. Nobody's done more for Puerto Rico than me.
You know, you're right. You've done enough. Let's get somebody else to take over.
A president sitting at 34% approval while his own vice president polls higher naturally goes looking for a distraction. Trump's answer was to put his own portrait on American currency. The Treasury Department announced a proposal for a special $250 bill featuring Donald Trump as part of the nation's 250th anniversary celebration. There was just one problem. Federal law, in place for decades for very specific reasons, allows only deceased individuals to appear on U.S. currency. Faced with that obstacle, the administration responded the same way it handled every inconvenient law. It proposed changing it. Holding up the design, Kimmel joked that it was the least popular bill since Cosby. The audience erupted. He then pointed out the irony of placing the face of the man blamed for record-high gas prices on the exact bill someone might need to fill a single tank. But the money wasn't the headline. The real attraction was the concert. Trump's team unveiled what they called the Great American State Fair, promoted as the defining patriotic event of the generation on the National Mall. When Kimmel started reading the entertainment lineup, the studio fell into an almost stunned silence. It wasn't ordinary awkwardness. It was the kind of silence that comes from watching something so painfully embarrassing that words no longer seem adequate. The list included Milli Vanilli, even though one member is deceased, CC Music Factory, with one member also gone, Morris Day and The Time, without Morris Day or The Time, both having declined, Young MC, without Young MC, who also refused, the Commodores, missing both the original singers and even the replacement singers who had initially agreed before backing out as well. Trump hadn't only lost the performers, he had managed to lose the replacements too. Then came the most unbelievable twist. The surviving members connected to Milli Vanilli released an official statement saying they had never been invited to perform, would not be appearing, and that any act using their name was simply a tribute group with no musical or vocal connection to them. Kimmel paused and asked the question everyone in the audience was already thinking. How do you end up with a fake version of Milli Vanilli, a group famous for pretending to be themselves? Trump had somehow failed to secure even the imitation version of a band built on imitation. The audience exploded with laughter, at a level of incompetence so extraordinary it felt almost unbelievable. The performers who remained did little to improve the situation. One of them, seemingly forgetting that public statements live forever, released a wildly unfiltered rant. Kimmel read it aloud in a perfectly calm, matter-of-fact tone, knowing the words spoke for themselves and needed no extra commentary. Kimmel will be watching, the audience will be watching. And, as always, reality is likely to be even more entertaining than anything the White House press office manages to produce before the sun comes up.